Just as there are laws of nature such as gravity and physics, there are laws of marketing. This is Getzes, and today we will go through the Bible of marketing, the 22 immutable laws of marketing, and look at what designers can learn from it to increase sales and outsmart the competition. The book was written by Al Rice and Jack Trout, arguably the most famous marketing strategists in the world and godfathers of the term positioning. It was published in 1993, before the era of the internet and social network. The main question that you might have, is it relevant 28 years later? And I would say yes. Of course, it contains some outdated examples and some predictions have not come true, but it's still a good source of knowledge that will likely remain evergreen, means forever. Here are my top 5 insights from the book that you can consider in your marketing program or while you work with your clients. Marketing is not a battle of products, it's a battle of perception. There is no objective reality. There are no facts, there are no best products. All that exists in the world of marketing are perceptions in the minds of the customer or prospect. The perception is the reality. Everything else is an illusion. Objectivity in marketing is a relative concept. You might think that the quality of your service is what matters the most. There is no bad or good quality, there is only the customer's perception. Some people think that your service is the best, you are the best designers, while others don't. What makes the battle even more difficult is that customers frequently make decisions based on second-hand perception. Instead of using their own perception, they base their buying decisions on someone else's perception of reality. They read reviews, they watch some YouTube channels to find out if the product is good, if your service is good. This is everybody knows principle. Example, everybody knows that designers are creative folks, artists, not exactly good with numbers. This perception is not in favor of being perceived as someone that can help with business problems or shape the strategy. Changing a prospect's or customer's mind is very difficult. A perception that exists in the mind is often assumed as universal truth. People are never wrong in their own minds. The only way to overcome that is by studying how perceptions are formed in the mind of your prospects or clients, and focusing your marketing programs on that perception. When you admit a negative, the prospect will give you a positive. It may come up as a surprise to you that one of the most effective ways to get into prospect's mind is to first admit negative and then twist it into a positive. In the given example of crazy creative, you can twist your marketing message to overcome that false belief by admitting that designers are indeed a bit crazy. They think differently. Do you remember Apple's advertising Think Different? Here's to the crazy ones.
The misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently.
You don't fight the perception by ignoring or denying it. You admit the perception and find positive aspects that favor your service. A very similar approach is described by Chris Voss in his book, Never Split the Difference. The concept of acquisition audit is essentially a negotiating tactic where you list all the negative things the person you are talking with can claim about you or your work and use label to diffuse their power. The reason why a counterpart is not going to make an agreement with you are often more important than why they are going to make an agreement. So focus first on removing the barrier to an agreement. It's better to be first than it is to be better. It's much easier to get into the mind first than to try to convince someone you have a better product or service than the one who got there first. In other words, being first gives you a very big advantage over competition. If you can't be first in category, set up a new category you can be first in. This is similar to what Peter Thiel says in 0 to 1, where he urges people to carve out a tiny market to dominate rather than taking a small percentage of an existing one. Example, it's hard to compete in the web design market. You're not the first on the market. What could you do? Create a new category like a web designer that creates websites exclusively for fitness teachers in your city or country. That is exactly what I teach in my course. How to find the perfect niche. How to find the market that you'll be comfortable working in. It's free, so you should definitely check it out. The link is in the description. Be different. If you are shooting for second place, your strategy is determined by the leader. Leverage the leader's strength into weakness. Don't try to be better than the leader. Try to be different. You should leverage the leader's strength into weakness and offer alternatives. There are always those who want to buy from the leader, and there are always those who don't want to buy from the leader. A potential number 2 has to appeal to the later group. You need to position yourself against the leader and take business away from all the other alternatives. Example, leader works with the biggest brands. Establish yourself as the best choice for leader's contender. David that helps to defeat Goliath. There's always an irresistible pressure to extend the equity of the brand. So rule number 1, minimize product line or your service line. Rule number 2, limit your target market. Rule number 3, be consistent. Have a brilliant narrow position and stick with it. Do not become all things to all people. When you try to be all things to all people, you wind up in a trouble. It's tempting to extend your service and serve all markets and all clients. The bad thing is that without a clear focus, you'll be a blur in the eyes of your prospects. What does it mean? Well, bursting yourself to different markets and offering them too many services might do you a bad favor, because now it will be hard to market yourself and position yourself as an expert in the field. That means that if you do the logo for a chicken factory one day and another you try to pitch your service to a bank, you are besides the jack of all trades and master of none. Maybe you'll be perceived as a chicken factory logo master, but definitely bank won't hire you. I like Mike's Montero quote: your portfolio needs to tell a story, and each client you add to it is another chapter in that story. Make sure you're consciously building a story you want to be telling, and make sure your story is compelling enough that your next client is excited to become a character in it. I will twist that quote a little bit. Your story should be consistent. Carefully choose the project you take on. The last word, or I would say summary. If you have time, I recommend you to read this book. It is full of great insights. I also recommend my self-design course, which teaches designers how to build lasting and happy careers. So next week, I plan to release a new video about Design Sprint. This is a very powerful system that Google uses to develop and test new products. So do not forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell sign. Thank you. See you soon.